Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 1090 Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all and y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're going to be speaking on a former Marine that went on a rampage destroying a family, shooting through an infant, killing the mother as she held on to a 3-month-old son, and leaving an 11-year-old girl with 7 holes in her body to tell the story.
When you see somebody so heartless, so calculated, that they will shoot a mother clinging to her 3-month-old baby and kill the baby and shoot the family dog, this guy is heartless and calculated. She told our detective, she said, "I believe the reason I'm alive now is I played dead and I prayed."
Sunday, September 5th, 2021. It was 4:30 in the morning when a lieutenant with the Polk County Sheriff's Office heard 2 bursts of automatic gunfire in the area. The Sheriff's Office immediately received multiple calls for an active shooter. Responding to a home in Lakeland, Florida, deputies arrived on scene encountering a suspect outside of the home, fully outfitted in body armor. A truck in front of the property was engulfed in flames, and glow sticks on the ground lit a path to the home. The suspect quickly retreated inside, and as deputies approached, gunshots began erupting, followed by the screams of a woman and the cries of a baby. They were quickly silenced by gunfire. Deputies tried entering the house from the front door, but it was barricaded. Quickly repositioning to the back of the home, deputies breached the sliding glass door and were immediately met with gunfire. 3 deputies were pinned down, dozens of shots rocking the house as they aggressively shot back, providing enough support fire to allow the 3 pinned deputies to retreat back outside. This was a shootout, and without explanation, it was understood this would only end one of 2 ways. An eerie moment of silence came, only to be disrupted by the sounds of heavy breathing, hearts beating, and reloading. That's when the man inside of the home surrendered.
He came out with his hands up, and that's why there was no further gunfire. It would have been nice if he'd have come out with a gun, and then we'd have been able to read a newspaper through him, and we'd have had a different conversation here this morning. But when someone chooses to give up, we take them into custody peacefully. If he'd given us the opportunity, we'd have shot him up a lot, but he didn't, because he was a coward. You see, it's easy to shoot innocent children and babies and people in the middle of the night when you got the gun and they don't. But he was not much of a man.
Placing him in custody as they discovered he'd been shot in the exchange, it was as he surrendered one of the deputies heard a voice. He rushed into the home, finding an 11-year-old girl suffering from at least 7 visible bullet holes to her body. She looked him in his eyes and was able to say, "There's 3 more dead people in the house." The little girl was airlifted to Tampa General Hospital for emergency surgery while EMS placed the suspect in an ambulance en route to the nearest hospital. Making it to the emergency room, the suspect attempted to reach for an officer's gun, fighting with staff as they subdued, then medicated him. Back on scene, sheriffs used robots to secure the 3 homes on the property, checking for booby traps and explosives. Once deemed cleared, they'd make a gruesome discovery. Within the main house, they found a family shot to death. The husband, 40-year-old Justice Gleason, and his wife, 33-year-old Teresa, were found dead on the ground. But what would forever burn an image into the mind of those on scene, what would forever leave them mentally scarred, was finding Teresa still holding her 3-month-old son, Jody. Bullets had traveled through both of their bodies, and the mother held on, never letting go of her son even after death. The infant's 62-year-old grandmother was found dead in the house directly behind the main one, along with the family dog. On the way into surgery, the 11-year-old girl was able to give a statement describing the shooter entering her home and asking for someone named Amber before opening fire on everyone. He'd apparently moved on to the second home, finding the elderly woman in the closet where he ended her life. Investigators were able to piece together the events leading up to the shooting. September 4th at roughly 7:30, 9 hours prior to the shooting, Deputies were called to the same home after reports of a suspicious person. A woman spoke with deputies saying there was a strange man in a vehicle, saying God sent me here to speak with one of your daughters. He also approached Justice Gleason, who was mowing his lawn. He gave the name Amber and was told there was no one there by that name. He said God had sent him because she was going to commit suicide, but he was again told there's no Amber there, so he left. Deputies arrived 6 minutes later, the suspect already gone, and for the next 20 minutes they patrolled the area looking for him, only for him to come back and commit a rampage. The suspect was identified as 33-year-old Brian Riley, a former U.S. Marine sharpshooter who served 4 years with deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan under his belt. He'd been honorably discharged and was currently employed as a bodyguard/security worker. Living in Brandon, Florida, investigators interviewed his fiancée, who said he'd been acting very strange for the last 7 days. He worked the security detail at a church in Orlando, and after the fact, he believed he could speak with God. He'd come home Saturday night telling his fiancée about a girl named Amber who he believed was going to commit suicide, and God was telling him to intervene. When she told him God wasn't speaking to him, he became upset, locking himself inside of a room and telling her to go away. She left him alone, going to bed, and later waking up to him not being home. Checking his phone's GPS location, it read he was in Lakeland at the location of what was now a horrific crime scene. Detectives conducted a post-Miranda interview with Brian, to which he admitted to shooting several people, stating God told him to do it. He denied knowing his victims, and when asked why he shot the infant, he stated, because I'm a sick guy. I want to confess to it all and be sent to jail. He admitted to setting the truck on fire for the purpose of creating an exit strategy. He admitted to attempting to grab the officer's gun in the emergency room and confirmed, while shooting his victims, they begged for their lives, but he continued to shoot them anyway. He said the 62-year-old woman was hiding, saying, please no, as he fired into her. Dozens, if not hundreds of rounds were fired between Brian and law enforcement. A search of his truck found supplies that indicated preparation for a gunfight, including bleeding control kits. It's not immediately clear if any of the victims were unintentionally shot by police during the shootout. Brian used 2 to 3 weapons of different calibers which were recovered inside of the home, and he's been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 7 counts of attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer, shooting into an occupied dwelling, 2 counts of armed burglary with battery, arson, and cruelty to animals. He remains in the Polk County Jail, where he faces the possibility of death under Florida law. My first thing, execute him. Get rid of him. Just put him down. Like, there's just certain things that don't make sense to me, because apparently he's trying to already play the crazy route. When they took him out, and the first time he was seen by the news, he's wearing the white suit and he's just got this weird, drunken, spaced out look to him. I've seen it so many times in county jail. I've seen the kids that pretend to be crazy, like the other kid from Jacksonville or whatever that stabbed the other girl, and now he's literally in court pretending to be crazy like that's gonna save him. It's all an act, and you see it when people get put into a prison or jail dorm. They'll act crazy so nobody messes with them, and then somebody walks up and slaps the shit out of them, and all of a sudden that craziness is gone and they're scared. Now you're gonna get extorted, now you're gonna get treated like a bitch, whatever. The facade is gone. And for some reason, people think that putting on this facade after committing an insane, heinous crime is somehow gonna save them from something, possibly death. Why do you fear death if you're crazy? If you're crazy, why would you calculate an escape plan? Setting a truck on fire as a distraction, putting glow sticks as a way of lighting a path. I don't know if that was because of smoke, whatever. It seems like he used military tactics and applied it to this massacre, to this murder. It seemed that he was calculated when thinking everything through, and he knew exactly what he did. He admitted to everything that he did. One thing that the sheriff pointed out was he's a coward. because he was brave enough to go inside of a home and kill all these innocent people that weren't armed. But when the police showed up, he got hit once, wasn't dead at that point, wasn't dying at that point, but he gave up. And the sheriff even pointed out, like, we would have shot him a whole lot more. You know what I mean? But he gave up the fight. He didn't want to die. He showed fear. If you're that fucking crazy, you're not that fucking scared. And what do I think will happen? I think his best defense is the fact that his fiance is going to testify that he was acting crazy leading up to the shooting. He was doing weird things, talking about weird things. They're going to use that. They definitely are. And he might be able to avoid the death penalty with that. But he's 5'6", 200 and something pounds. That doesn't mean he's not going to get flipped when he goes to prison. And most likely, being that he's a white guy, or it said he's a white guy, he's going to either be one of those weird dudes on the compound nobody really fucks with. He doesn't get money like that, so no one really has a reason to bother him. Or he's going to try to click up with some skinhead shit. I don't know. I mean, like, I've seen and met people inside of prison that did wild shit on the streets. And it's like, oh, that's the guy that killed his own kid. That's the guy that dissected that girl. That's the guy that did this. No one really cares about them. And most of them are getting extorted because they're not gangster in prison. They're only gangster when they find victims, defenseless people, like the dog that he killed. Things that aren't gonna fight back. Versus in here, people will fight back. People will fight first, and people will fight better than you because they've been doing it inside of a cage a whole lot longer than you have. You can have all that military training and shit, but there ain't no snipers, ain't no 50 cals, ain't no handguns in prison. How good are you with a knife? Are you willing to use it? Are you scared against these dudes that are gonna use it? And you're probably not gonna get a one-on-one because you're not affiliated with nobody in Florida prisons. It's gangland. But this case is fresh. It literally just happened. We're not gonna know how this plays out for months, possibly even years. I just hope that 11-year-old girl is able to recover. They haven't released her name. I mean, they possibly have, but I haven't found it. I'm gonna be looking again if there is a GoFundMe for her. If y'all are able to find one, please comment it in the comment section so I can pin it as the first comment. And whoever want to donate towards that 11-year-old girl that just lost her entire fucking family. I mean, it's horrible. I can't even imagine what she's going through. Never mind what the family went through. But hey, it's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all. Y'all rocking with me. Until next time.